The United Arab Emirates is a federation of 7 emirates located on the Arabian Peninsula in the Middle East. The UAE was formed on December 2, 1971, when 6 of the 7 emirates, including Abu Dhabi, Dubai, Sharjah, Ajman, Al Quwain and Fujairah, decided to unite and form a new country. The 7th emirate, Ras Al Khaimah, joined the federation later in February 1972. Before the formation of the UAE, the emirates were independent sheikdoms ruled by their respective royal families. The idea of forming a union had been discussed since the early 1950s, but it was not until the late 1960s that the idea gained serious momentum. One of the main driving forces behind the formation of the UAE was the desire to protect the region from external threats. In the 1960s, the region was facing several challenges, including territorial disputes with Iran, the threat of communist expansion, and the possibility of Israeli aggression. Uniting the Emirates would create a stronger and more unified front, making it easier to defend against these threats. In 1968, the British government announced that it would withdraw its military forces from the region by 1971. This announcement added urgency to the discussions about forming a union, as the Emirates would need to be able to defend themselves without British assistance. Negotiations for the formation of the UAE began in early 1971, and by the end of the year, the 6 emirates had agreed to form a new country. The UAE was officially established on December 2, 1971. The UAE is a loose federal system, with power dominated by Abu Dhabi and Dubai due to their vast oil wealth. Their legal code is based on a dual system comprising Sharia law courts and civil courts. Within each emirate, local governments are based on traditional patriarchal monarchies and ruled by sheikhs from royal families who long held the leadership position of tribal confederations. Each emirate has its own local government, the complexity of which varies according to the emirate's size and population. How each emirate applies Sharia law differs. Some, such as Dubai, tend to be more open and liberal, while others such as Sharjah are more conservative and guarded. The UAE is a cradle-to-grave welfare state, with its citizens enjoying a plethora of perks and benefits from the government. Tax-free income, free high-quality healthcare, subsidized fuel, government-funded retirement plans, access to land to build homes with interest-free loans, the best education system in the Arab world, and access to free higher education. The government will even pay Emirati men 70,000 dirham equivalent to $19,000 if they marry an Emirati woman. The UAE is the 3rd richest country in the world, below Luxembourg at number 2 and Qatar at number 1, with a GDP per capita of $57,744. Because the quality of life in the UAE is so high and much of the population has been lifted out of poverty in the span of a few decades, the monarchy enjoys unwavering support and there have been few instances of political turmoil in their history. In 2011, the UAE-5, a group of activists, were accused of insulting the country's rulers and endangering national security. The activists, who included lawyers, academics and human rights advocates, were sentenced to prison terms ranging from 2 to 3 years, but were eventually pardoned and released in 2013. In 2015, a prominent human rights activist named Ahmed Mansour was arrested and charged with cybercrimes for allegedly posting messages on social media that were critical of the government. It is worth noting that since then the UAE has taken steps to improve transparency and government accountability, but there is still limited space for open political opposition, and those who openly challenge the authority of the monarchy risk legal and social consequences. The UAE is a federation of absolute monarchies. There are no real elections in the executive branch and no political parties. The country's leadership and governmental bodies are either chosen through consultations between the local traditional leaders or appointed by officials within the constitution's framework. Executive authority is in the Federal Supreme Council or FSC, the President, Vice President, and Prime Minister. The FSC is the highest constitutional authority and the top policy-making entity. Its members are the 7 rulers of the Emirates. The Council elects the President and Vice President from amongst them. The FSC has both legislative and executive powers. It establishes general policies and ratifies federal laws and decrees. As the wealthiest and most powerful of all the Emirates, the rulers of Abu Dhabi and Dubai have effective veto powers. The head of state and commander-in-chief of the armed forces is the president, who serves a 5-year term. Since the UAE's formation, this position has been held by the ruler of Abu Dhabi. The current president is Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan. He succeeded his brother, Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan, a pro-Western modernizer who ruled for 13 years beginning in 2004. Their father, Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan, was the UAE's first president and held office for 33 years. He is credited as being the father of the UAE and was the driving force behind uniting the Emirates. The role of vice president and prime minister has historically been held by the leader of Dubai. The legislative branch is the Federal National Council, or FNC, an advisory quasi-parliamentary body made up of 40 members, 20 of which are appointed by the leader of each emirate, while the other 20 are elected by 33% of the UAE's population that have been hand-picked to vote. In 2020, following a decree to increase female representation, women made up 50% of the FNC. Each emirate reserves considerable power and autonomy in running its economies and social systems. The governments are largely in the hands of royal dynasties and their local allies from other rich and powerful merchants and business families. Succession decisions are in the hands of the ruler, typically falling to a son or brother. Since its formation, the UAE has undergone rapid development and modernization, fueled in large part by its vast oil reserves in Abu Dhabi. Today, the UAE is one of the most prosperous and modern countries in the Middle East. The country has also become a global hub for trade, transportation, and culture, attracting people from all over the world. The monarchies have played a critical role in driving economic development. Initially an agricultural and fishing-based economy, the UAE has transformed into one of the most dynamic and diversified economies in the world. The rulers of the UAE have invested heavily in the development of world-class infrastructure, which has helped to attract foreign investment and businesses to the country. They have also been active in promoting economic diversification, moving the country away from its reliance on oil and gas exports. They have encouraged the development of non-oil industries, such as tourism, finance, and technology, by providing incentives to businesses and investors by establishing free trade zones, low taxes, and a flexible labor market. These efforts have helped transform the UAE into a thriving economy that attracts investment and business worldwide. The rulers of the 7 Emirates have also been instrumental in promoting and preserving the cultural heritage of the UAE, as well as supporting the development of contemporary arts and culture. One of the key ways in which the UAE monarchies have shaped the country's culture is through their support for traditional art forms, such as calligraphy, poetry, and music. They have established numerous institutions and organizations to promote and preserve these art forms, including the Abu Dhabi Music and Arts Foundation and the Sharjah Art Foundation, as well as many museums, galleries, and cultural centers, such as the Louvre Abu Dhabi, the Dubai Opera, and the Abu Dhabi Cultural Foundation. Looking forward, the UAE monarchy's authority appears to have been solidified and is likely to continue to play a central role in the country's governance and development. However, like any government, they will face challenges and opportunities, and how they navigate them will help shape the future of the monarchy and the country as a whole.